Starting a new project always means getting an alignment and a shared vision. If you're working in an agency or as a freelancer, it usually also means meeting new people. So in the first kickoff meeting, there are usually two goals that we're trying to accomplish. It's getting to know each other, and it's creating a shared vision on the desired project outcome. In most cases, in my reality, I really have an opportunity to have a half-day or even a full-day workshop to really go into depth in a lot of elements for the kickoff meeting. Time is of essence, budget is usually tight. So kickoff meetings, for me, usually don't last longer than an hour or an hour and a half. I would like to share my process with you that I take to get as much information out of these kickoff meetings as possible. So let's take a look. Step number 1, research and prepare. And by that I mean really collecting any kind of information that you can gather before the kickoff meeting. So I'm mostly thinking about a scenario where you're completely new to the client that you're working with, to the team that you're working with. So you want to know as much as possible up front before you get into a kickoff meeting. What I usually do is I start to collect information about the business itself. Google or recently Perplexity, which is an AI tool where we can find easily information about the business and the company. So if I take a recent example, I'm just starting to work for a company that is called My HR. I would ask Perplexity, what can you tell me about the organization called My HR out of New Zealand? So I know already where the company is. And then the nice thing about Perplexity, it pulls in a bunch of resources that you can use and dive deeper, but it also summarizes the key findings and responses. So in here I can easily see, it's HR software based, it is tailored for small to medium businesses, key features of the services, and then I can dive a little bit deeper. I am usually interested to get a high level understanding of the business plan, revenue, how the business overall works, obviously the products that they're selling, also the competitors that they have, and the unique selling propositions that they offer. From here, I would just dive in and keep asking questions. I would try to limit my research to not longer than an hour, to not go too crazy and too far and too deep. I just have to get a proper understanding of the business overall. Another step that I always do is I look at their services and their products. So this would be the website that they currently have. And I would browse around, I would get a first heuristic overview, focusing on the key areas, like what's the structure, the layout, are there any core usability issues that are popping out to me. Then looking also at the navigation, the different categories that they have. So what do they offer? How does the navigation work? I would dive deeper into the content just to get a little bit more familiar with who are they trying to reach, what is the target audience from what I can see here. And then the last step that I would do to prepare the kickoff workshop is researching the participants. So I would go over to LinkedIn and just type in the information. If I don't find them on LinkedIn, again, Google, any kind of research platform that you can find or that you typically use to get at least a rough understanding of, so from the people who are participating, what's their role, what's their experience. So that is a very important step to set up. Next, you want to define the workshop outcomes. And by workshop outcomes, there are the obvious workshop outcomes if you want to get to know each other and you want to get an alignment of the overall project objectives. But I think about it as like 3 core elements that I need to plan for. First of all, what do we want to accomplish as a team? And that is usually, so a shared vision, a shared understanding of the project outcomes. It is also a good understanding of the process overall. So how are we dealing in this project? What are the steps? And any kind of communication tips. So this is what we want to get to know from each other. The other aspect is what do I need to learn in this workshop? So what are things that are helpful for me to make my job really good? And these are usually specific questions. In a very first kickoff meeting, I'm curious to learn more about what even triggered this project. Then what are the current pain points that we're trying to solve? And those could often be obvious. So again, if we take a look at my HR, so this is all about a website redesign. Pain points will be around the website specifically, but I also want to understand the business objectives behind it. So what is currently going on with the business? What is trigger them to redesign the website? There's usually reduction in sales or customer churn, so I need to understand those. I would also like to understand the target audience better. So anything that they know so far, and even if it is just assumptions, and kind of like the business objective or the business impact that we're seeking for, the success metrics that we're using to define this business as successful, and where they are overall in the market space. So these are the core areas that I need to understand. So then lastly, I also think about what they need to understand about me. So I want to make sure that all the team members understand what a UX designer does. And this can be tricky, even if people have worked with UX designers before. The understanding of what UX design is and isn't varies so much. So I always give an introduction about my role, my skill sets. I try to share specific examples that are relevant for this project. I will also describe the process, the steps that I'm doing, and I will make sure that they understand exactly like the next steps that are happening from this kickoff meeting. As a third step, I'm then going to think about the agenda. So I did my research, I understand the business, I understand the participants, I am very clear about what I want to get out of this workshop. And so now I'm diving into what exactly, how can I structure the agenda? Like what are the core areas that I need to figure out? And I usually just scribble that down on paper and create a rough outline of the steps and get a first sense of timing. I try not to start with the time restrictions in mind, but I start with all the steps that I want to accomplish to then define how much time I need. On the flip side though, there are a lot of steps where we could use a lot of time, similar to designing, right? Like if you give me a day to create a homepage, I can use a day to create a homepage. But if I only have an hour to create a homepage, I can create a homepage in an hour. It will not be the same outcome, but it can be done. So if somebody is telling me that I have a whole day for a kickoff workshop, I will definitely use the time and dive into more extensive interactions and activities to dive deep, to really go deep into any kind of knowledge and assumptions. Those to me are usually specific workshops though, so I use a kickoff workshops to almost test the waters, test the knowledge, and see where some knowledge gaps exist, to then potentially add a longer workshop to dive into those details. So in my agenda, I focus on just the core areas, and then I try to see what is the minimum amount of time that I need to get reasonable answers, taking also into consideration the amount of people that are going to participate in this working session. And the next step is setting up a whiteboard. So I do like using tools like Miro or Figma for even kickoff meetings, because a kickoff meeting to me is all about collecting knowledge and sharing information. Yes, you can do that with a presentation that you're preparing, but it's very hard to take notes and share the notes at the same time, and that to me is the main goal of this kind of like kickoff onboarding meeting. It also helps to create trust and to build that team alignment if you use a tool where you can actually type in notes, take notes, and share that up front so people can react and respond to the notes that you're taking. So for that, again, Miro or Figma, I use both tools kind of like interchangeable. In this example, I just wanted to walk you quickly through a setup of a FigJam board and some tips for you if you're doing the same practice. So if you're starting with Figma or FigJam, I should say, so FigJam is really the whiteboard version. It allows you for less detailed drawing, but it's really great for just post-it notes, sticky notes, collecting thoughts and insights. If you start FigJam, you usually see on the left side that little AI tool, support tool. So you could even describe in here what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Like a kickoff meeting for 5 participants to collect ideas around target audience, current pain points, competitors. Let's start with that. And then this AI tool will try to analyze and come up with some first recommendations for you, some board recommendations. You can always find this little AI tool up here and those star icons to go back to it. So this is one approach to do it. But you can also find down here in that area plus down here any kind of templates. So there are tons of templates and it's very easy to get lost in them. They're pretty good ones. There are specific stickers that you can use. There are specific widgets that you can use. And there are templates like these ones. So I was looking earlier into the project kickoff meeting. If I just add that in here, you see like this is the template that you will get. Some of these templates also come with specific quick tips, which might actually come in handy if you use the tool and you're planning to use this tool collaboratively with your team as a brief introduction, right? Like this guy almost puts a little onboarding session together for you where you can orient your users by, you know, this down here is the toolbar and here's how you can move and zoom with your mouse or with a space bar. This is shortcuts that you can use to create new stickies or to give high fives. Some of these templates are really great. I find other templates are also very, very detailed. And as I mentioned, it's so easy to get lost in these templates. So I would actually encourage you to, like, if I go in here and these are just the recommended. This is all based on meetings. Like you can see there are a lot of different templates in here. Some of them are very specific, are almost like mini exercises, team cool down or Jeopardy template. So those templates can also give you great inspiration for team exercises or workshop exercises that you can do. So it's worthwhile to just browse and explore whenever you have time. For the session that I'm planning though, so this is what AI generated, which is not too bad. It has a little bit of an icebreaker in there. It has some detailed target audience analysis in there, pain points on competitors. But I am going to delete this. And I will not need all of these instructions. So I'm going to delete that as well. And then this one here, I would turn this into the agenda. And get rid of some of the stuff here. And then just list out the core areas that I want to cover. And this could be introduction. Let's say 5 minutes. And then without showing you the whole setup process and you watching me typing, so I would map out the meeting agenda of what I want to accomplish, again, with the rough timings that I have in mind, based on my previous brainstorm. And then this is a template. I mean, it always depends a little bit on the goal of the kickoff meeting, but the categories are something that I use very frequently. So I will state the project goal, because this is usually something that you already received from your client. It's their version of their goal. I find it really helpful to repeat that goal and just making sure that we all have the same understanding of what that actually means. There's sometimes certain questions that I can trigger. So in here it says create an engaging website that communicates our USB. So I would like to dive deeper into what actually makes a website engaging. Like, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? Is it people have to click on book a call with us, or is it more people need to spend a lot of time on the website? Like, what is it and how do we measure engagement? And then USB, I would make sure that I understand what they are trying to say here. Then from there, so these are different buckets that I have, but in a workshop, I will kind of like follow a flow, similar to user research and user interviews. I do have my questions and my categories in mind, but those might not appear in order. My intention would be to just start collecting with the current pain points, so we could all take a look at the website and everybody just brain dumps what they think needs to change. And that is a first collection. From there, the next discussion point would be, okay, so who would actually come to the website? Like, who's your target audience? And in this particular instance, I assume that there might be a difference between the actual buyer person who they're interested in for a specific call to action versus the user. So they might have, because it's a B2C organization, they might have people who are actually wanting to have a free trial or wanting to talk to somebody, might be the buyer, versus people who are using it, they might be interested in those resources or need to actually come here to log in. So they are different, there might be different tasks, different needs, different experiences. So I would collect all of that. This section then would also give me a good understanding of how much do we know about the target audience versus how much are just assumptions. And based on that, I can define on like how much additional research do we want to do, should we do. The next big bucket is competitors and USB. So this is just from their perspective, who do they think the biggest competitors are? I would come prepared with my own research as well and could participate and share like the knowledge that I gained or what I see from the UX perspective. And then also learning like how do they see themselves different from the competitors. And then lastly, like what are the biggest success criteria? How do we measure success at the end of this project? So this is guided boxes to collect information. And then very important is to share the next steps. So these are the steps of what are we doing and what are we doing together. So I want to create a good understanding of here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm taking away, versus here's where I need your input, and here's where we will work together and come together again. Yeah, and with that, I hope you got some good inspiration and tips on how to prepare an engaging kickoff workshop with a limited amount of time.